In the top stories, the National Commission of St. Kitts and Nevis for UNESCO is reporting a year of major progress. The Antigua and Barbuda government and APUA's management have held talks to end workers' industrial action, and video footage has raised questions about the US's role in the bombing of an Iran school. Hello and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Today is Tuesday, the 10th of March 2026. I'm Jason Davis. Nationally, St. Kitts and Nevis has reported a year of progress in education, cultural heritage and biodiversity protection through the work of its National Commission for UNESCO. The Commission's 2025 report outlines a series of initiatives implemented during the year under the leadership of Deputy Prime Minister the Honorable Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, who chairs the National Commission, supported by Ambassador David Doyle. Secretary General of the Commission, Ambassador Neris Dockery, said the programs were designed to advance UNESCO's mandate while supporting national development priorities. Among the major achievements were reforms to the national qualifications and accreditation system and the development of a national policy on intangible cultural heritage. 4 historic sites were also identified for possible inscription on UNESCO's World Heritage tentative list. In addition, the masquerade traditions of St. Kitts and Nevis have been put forward for consideration under UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity program. The report also notes the introduction of education for sustainable development into the national curriculum, supported by UNESCO with funding from the Government of Japan. Another initiative underway seeks to transform the St. Mary's Biosphere Reserve into a biodiversity-led agricultural protected zone. The Commission also highlighted a teacher training partnership with the Open University of Tanzania, which will provide educators in St. Kitts and Nevis with remote access to bachelor's degree programs. Officials say these initiatives demonstrate the Federation's continued commitment to working with UNESCO and international partners to advance sustainable development. The Alexandra Hospital in Nevis has received a significant upgrade with the commissioning of a new commercial-grade kitchen. The state-of-the-art facility was recently unveiled by the Nevis Island Administration as part of its continued efforts to strengthen healthcare services and improve patient care on the island. The project represents an investment of $2.3 million and forms part of broader improvements to the island's main medical facility. The new kitchen features expanded food preparation areas, modernized storage facilities, walk-in refrigerators and freezers, as well as dedicated staff areas. It also includes offices for nutritionists and private spaces for patient dietary counseling. Minister of Health in the Nevis Island Administration, the Honorable Janelle Nisbet, described the commissioning as an important step in improving healthcare services at the hospital. She said the upgraded facility was designed to improve workflow, strengthen food safety standards, and support the hospital's dietary team in delivering better nutritional care for patients. Premier of Nevis, the Honorable Mark Brantley, also commended the Ministry of Health for delivering the project, noting that the new kitchen will further improve the quality of care provided at Alexandra Hospital. Premier Brantley said the infrastructure upgrade is being supported by additional staffing, including the recent hiring of a dietitian to help guide meal preparation for patients and residents. He added that the Nevis Island Administration remains committed to continued improvements at the hospital, including facility upgrades and the recruitment of additional medical personnel. Renovations to the existing laundry facility have also been approved as part of the administration's broader effort to expand and strengthen hospital operations. In other news, St. Kitts and Nevis is set to play a key role in strengthening economic ties between the Caribbean and Africa following a major new investment commitment to the region. The CARICOM Private Sector Organization, or CPSO, has welcomed the decision by the African Export-Import Bank, or Afrexim Bank, to increase its financing commitment to the Caribbean from $3 billion to $5 billion US. The announcement was made during engagements between Afrexim Bank President Dr. George Ilombi and CARICOM heads of government at the 50th regular meeting of the Conference of Heads held in St. Kitts and Nevis from February 24. Officials said the expanding The expanded funding is expected to support trade, investment, and infrastructure projects while deepening economic cooperation between CARICOM and the African Union. CPSO says the initiative could create new opportunities for regional businesses and help strengthen productive capacity across the community. Among the key projects under discussion is the development of the Afreximbank Caribbean Trade Center in Bridgetown, Barbados, which will serve as the bank's regional office and a hub for trade, investment, and business engagement. The bank has also indicated support for the establishment of a Caribbean Export-Import Bank and a regional payment and settlement system designed to facilitate cross-border transactions and reduce dependencies on hard currencies. The initiative is also expected to support efforts to improve air and maritime connectivity between Africa and the Caribbean, a key step towards expanding trade and investment flows. For St. Kitts and Nevis, the partnership will continue to gain visibility this July when the Federation hosts the Africa-Caribbean Trade and Investment Forum, a major business event expected to bring together government leaders, investors, and private sector representatives from Africa and the Caribbean. Regionally, efforts are underway in Antigua and Barbuda to resolve an industrial dispute involving workers of the Antigua Public Utilities Authority, or APUA. Minister of Utilities and Energy, Melford Nicholas, convened a meeting with the Antigua Trades and Labor Union and members of APUA's executive management team on Monday. The talks followed industrial action by some employees covered under the collective bargaining agreement between APUA and the union. Union representatives say the walkout stemmed from several outstanding issues, including a proposed 10% wage increase for the 2025 to 2028 contract period, in unresolved pension payments, and health and safety concerns at some facilities. APUA falls under the country's Essential Services Framework, which places legal limitations on industrial action in sectors considered critical to public health and safety. Both sides have agreed to reconvene on Wednesday to continue discussions and finalize terms on the outstanding matters. In other regional news, the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines recently marked its first 100 days in office, with Prime Minister Dr. Godwin Friday saying his administration has already begun delivering on key campaign promises. During a recent radio appearance, Friday reflected on the first months of governance since his New Democratic Party won the November 27 general elections with a 14-1 majority. The result ended the 25-year administration of former Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. Friday said his government moved quickly to address the cost of living crisis, implementing measures within the first 60 days aimed at putting more money back into the pockets of Vincentians. Those steps included a VAT-free shopping day in December, which the government says provided a boost to both consumers and businesses. The Prime Minister, who also serves as Minister of Finance, said his administration has also moved to honor its campaign promise to reinstate public sector workers who lost their jobs under the COVID-19 vaccine mandate in 2021. Hundreds of employees were dismissed after refusing the vaccine, and the government says it is now working with unions and affected workers to facilitate their return to public service. The administration has also presented a $1.9 billion national budget, which outlines policies designed to support economic growth and address the cost of living. Friday said the government also plans to reduce value-added tax from 16% to 13% later this year, while increasing public assistance payments to $500. Internationally, newly released video is raising fresh questions about a deadly blast at a school in southern Iran and appears to point to possible U.S. responsibility for the strike. The explosion happened on February 28 when a school in the city of Minab was hit during the opening days of the current conflict. More than 160 people were killed, most of them children who were at the school at the time. The school was located next to a compound associated with Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The new video, first analyzed by the investigative group Bellingcat, appears to show a Tomahawk cruise missile striking a building near the school. Weapons experts say the munition matches the profile of a Tomahawk, a missile used by the United States in the current war. The Associated Press also reports that a U.S. official familiar with internal discussions has said the strike was likely American. However, Washington has not accepted responsibility for the school children's deaths. U.S. President Donald Trump has suggested Iran may have been responsible for the blast, claiming Iran possesses Tomahawk missiles, a claim for which there is no public evidence. The United States military has confirmed using Tomahawk missiles in the conflict and released images of a U.S. Navy destroyer firing one on the same day the school was hit. United Nations officials and human rights groups are now calling for an independent investigation into the incident. Still on the international scene, China is signaling a more conciliatory tone towards the United States ahead of a possible summit between President Xi Jinping and U.S. President Donald Trump later this month. China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi said Beijing hopes this year will be a quote-unquote landmark year in relations between the world's two largest economies. Wang made the remarks on Sunday during a press conference held on the sidelines of China's annual National People's Congress in Beijing. He said despite long-standing differences, the two leaders have maintained direct communication at the highest level. Wang added that both sides should work to manage their disagreements and create the right conditions for high-level talks. U.S. President Donald Trump is expected to visit Beijing later in March for talks with President Xi, although Chinese officials have not yet formally confirmed the visit. Wang also used the briefing to call for an immediate end to military action in Iran and urged major powers to return to diplomatic negotiations. That's it for international news, and now for a look at the weather. Cloudy skies are the dominant feature across the Federation with a light haze of Saharan dust in the air. Winds are blowing from the east at about 16 miles per hour, producing a moderate breeze. Seas are moderate with waves of about 5 to 8 feet, with northeasterly swells reaching up to 1.5 meters. A high surf advisory will come into effect tomorrow afternoon. For the rest of today, expect partly cloudy skies with a moderate or 60% chance of brief passing showers. Tonight will remain partly cloudy with a 60% chance of showers, most likely during the early morning. Sunset will be at 6:20 p.m. Sunrise tomorrow is expected at 6:22 a.m. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Major Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Jason Davis.